The time is now for Africa to prepare. The time is now for us to ask ourselves, what are we going to do when we have succeeded? Because for too long, we have imagined that the rest is a secondary question, that we shall do what we need to do when we have won victory. But history is consistent in telling us that if you want things to be done properly, you must pray as if you are dying tomorrow, but plan as if you'll never die. I see that with the Chinese. I see that with the Russians. I see that with the Vietnamese. I see that with the people of Thailand. I see that with the people of Turkey. We must also think governance. You know, when I look at the mother continent today, and I look at her on a daily basis, and I look at the conflict after every election, I look at the court cases after every election, I look at the migration of people after every election, I look at the deaths after every election, I ask myself, shouldn't we also, as we think about the day of victory, begin to remind ourselves that our governance system must change? That we must no longer talk about democracy that is conceived in Europe and America, that we must have our own system of governance. The time to prepare is now. The time to ask what methods and systems you are going to use is now. And I'm suggesting that that is what we must do. We must also ask ourselves, how are we going to deal with our spirituality? You know, Africa is one of the few continents where politicians, when they are sick, they are evacuated to India, to Germany, to London, to the United States of America, to good hospitals. And when they come back, they thank God by building another church, not another hospital. I'm suggesting that going forward, we must ask ourselves how we are going to deal with our health systems. And that must happen now. And it can only happen when we begin to organize African institutions. Africa has 8 regional economic communities, from SADC to ECOWAS, to COMESA, to Central Africa, to East Africa, to IGAD, to the Maghreb, to the Horn. All these must begin to have only one meeting. What will we do after the day of victory? And after they have met in that way, they must meet in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia at Africa Hall, and they must ask themselves under the aegis of the African Union, what will African Union be after the day of victory? Will we still be financed by GIZ? Will we still be financed by USAID? Will we still be financed by UK Aid? Will we still be financed by CEDA Sweden? Will we still be financed by CEDA Canada? Or we will now finance ourselves? Once we have understood all these, we'll be able to cut our coats according to our cloth. And Africa may then be able to say, we have run the good race and we have finished well, and our victory is serving us well because our young men and women now have opportunities for invention and innovation, because our women now have opportunity to serve. People now serve because they love the country, because corruption is now dead, because tribalism is now dead, and our diversity is only celebrated as a cultural curiosity. That day, it is us who are going to make it. There are no supermen and superwomen who are going to come. It is us who must become supermen and superwomen. And as the saying goes, the journey on Friday starts on Thursday. Let us start now so that Africa may enjoy the dividends, sweet dividends of victory, not her bitter fruits. It can't be done, and it is us who must do it.
Well, excuse me, brothers and sisters. Let me first of all salute you in the name of Pan Africanism. That is Professor Pierre Lumumba advising African leaders. My doubt is, are our African leaders listening this kind of advice, or they're waiting advice from Europe? You know, right now we have these agendas, Agenda 2063, we have a lot of plans, but do you see real commitment among African leaders? Do you see what we have planned we are going to achieve? So, brothers and sisters, please share with us through the comment section. Let us now continue with Professor Pierre Lumumba. Then I'll come at the end to share my thoughts, and of course to hear also from you, what is your opinion? What do you think Africans we can do to move forward? Right now we are stacking.
We continue with the question of what we do after we have gained the victory and or defeated the colonizer, or if you may, the neo-colonizer. You know, those who are wiser than us say that the end of a thing is better than the beginning of a thing. They say that what you do with victory is better than victory itself. The world is replete with stories of people who, having gained victory, do not know what to do with it. I remember so very vividly when Africans were struggling to regain their independence from the colonizers, almost to a man, almost to a woman, each one of them said, our enemies are poverty, disease, and ignorance. Almost to a man, each one of them promised that I will deliver you from hell into heaven. Almost to a man, each one of them promised that they would take us to El Dorado, the land of gold. But the question is, are we prepared? The question is, when we win this battle, will we make the same mess of it in the same manner that we have largely made a mess of what we regained after we drove away the colonizer? And it's not lost on me that I'm talking at a time when the continent of Africa, whichever way you look at it, is underperforming, punching below our weight, when despite the best intentions of the best of our leaders, poverty is alive, conflicts are there, ethnic divisions are rampant, disease is alive, we don't have drinking water, we have underachieved. Yet today we know and make the claim that we could have done better if we drove away the colonizer in all his manifestations. I am for it. I believe that the African continent and African peoples must be totally liberated. I believe that the neo-colonial project which controls our politics and guides our politics must be driven away. I believe that the institutions that guide and govern our economies must be driven away. I believe that the dictation that we have, particularly from Western Europe, must be jettisoned. I believe that we must not be militarily dominated by these erstwhile colonizers. I believe that we can and must. And I believe that we are aware that we have a duty to achieve it. I believe that we know that this is an intergenerational battle. But the question is the perennial one. What will we do when that is done? Will we, once we have defeated the colonizer, remain divided as we are? Will we continue to retain the boundaries that we have so that a Kenyan passport is one that is rejected in Nigeria and vice versa? Will it be that our borders are still controlled? That when an individual from Tanzania goes into Zimbabwe, he is asked for a passport and the number of days that he's going to stay there? Will it be that when I want to have a job in Morocco, I'll be asked why? Will it be that when I cross over to the University of Nsukka in Nigeria, from the University of Nairobi, my degrees will not be recognized? What am I saying? I'm saying that one of the first things that we must do is to identify our agenda after victory. We must have a blueprint of what it is that we want to do. And that blueprint is already with us. It must start with unity. It is in our minds. And when I talk about unity, it means that we must sanitize our politics. It means that we must not be individuals whose only claim to fame is that we want political office for its own sake. Many times in Africa, I look at the continent and I look at some of our liberators, and instead of thinking that they owed it to their motherland, they think that their motherland owes them. They want to be presidents. They want to be ministers. They want to be senior civil servants. They want to be millionaires without working for it. We must liberate ourselves from entitlement if we want to make Africa great after the day of victory. We must also jettison the thing called corruption. You know, one of the things that has bedeviled Africa post-independence is that the men and women whom we have entrusted with positions of power think that all that belongs to the public is theirs to take. Once we have eliminated the colonizer, will we be keeping money in the Cayman Islands? Will we be keeping money in Macau? Will we be keeping money in Mauritius? Will we be keeping money in Panama? We must ask ourselves what it is that we are going to do the day after victory. I'm suggesting to us that the day after victory, we must decolonize our institutions. We must look at our education curriculum anew. We must ask ourselves, what history are we teaching? We must ask ourselves, what geography are we teaching? We must ask ourselves, what psychology and sociology are we teaching? We must ask ourselves, what archaeology are we focusing on? We must ask ourselves what it is that we are doing with our education. We must ask ourselves, in the technological arena, we are in the fourth, fifth, and in industrial revolution. We are in the age of the Internet of Things. Are we still relying on ChatGPT? Are we still relying on DeepSeek? Are we still relying on Gemini? What technology are we going to use? How are we going to interact with the rest of the world? We must ask ourselves. We must ask ourselves what is going to be our foreign policy. How are we going to deal with the rest of the world? How are we going to ensure that the rest of the world will work with us from a position of equality? We must be prepared. We must ask ourselves, what are we going to do in terms of feeding ourselves? As I speak to you now, Africa imports chicken from Brazil. As I speak to you now, Africa imports butter from Denmark. As I speak to you now, Africa imports all her cars almost from Asia and from Europe and from America. Africa imports almost all her phones beyond assembly outside of the continent. What are we going to do?
Yes, welcome back, family, brothers and sisters. You heard a lot from Professor Philo Lumumba with those wisdom words and a powerful advice to our leaders. Professor has touched different issues, starting with the issue of decolonizing our minds, revolutionizing our curriculums, our spiritual, and many other issues. Coming to the issue of education. Now, all these things needs education. The current education system systems that we have in the continent of Africa are preparing Africans to take care of our mother continent, Africa. Are they preparing Africans to be patriotic? Oh, they are preparing thieves. What I see right now, brothers and sisters, our curriculums are preparing thieves, are preparing jealous men and women, and our curriculums are preparing coconut people, brown outside and white inside. So we need to revolutionize our education systems to teach our people the true history. You know, as I speak to you now, we are still learning French revolutions. We are still learning Shakespeare and others. We are still learning those who they call themselves, they discovered Africa. You know, it doesn't make sense. Some people came to Africa and say they discovered the mountain, while at that time there's Africans there. So we are still learning like that. So Professor has suggested there's a need to change our curriculums, to change the way we teach our children, our pupils, our students. My question is, do we have those kind of leaders who can change those curriculums? You know, one thing that colonizers has achieved in the continent of Africa, first of all, they took control of all those things. If it's about education, healthcare, infrastructures, they control, even economy, they control all those things. If you come to education, those who are publishing our books, whether Cambridge or Oxford, those are publishing our books. So don't expect these people to teach your children, to oppose them. Don't think that they will teach our people economics that will challenge IMF or the World Bank. Forget about that. We have leaders who have been grown in that systems. That is difficult for them to change, to move out of the systems. You know, we who are out of the system, who have tried to move out of the system, we are looking things in different ways. But those who are inside the system, they see things in different ways. Sometimes they feel this, we who are sometimes advising Africans to be dependent, maybe we are bad people. No, we are looking things out of the box. Those who are inside the box, they can't understand what we are saying sometimes. Sometimes that's why you see we lament on our leaders. You know, have went far and coming to a conclusion that, you know, sometimes we blame our leaders. We praise others like Traore, Kagame and others. But sometimes also we blame other leaders like Tinubu. But let us ask ourselves, let us go deep. The system, those puppet leaders passed through until they become presidents. They passed through the systems of Western power, Western systems. They were prepared since kindergarten, coming to maybe primary, secondary, whatever, different stages. So they were prepared since they were still young. So they are grown in that system. That's why they don't see the problem. When you tell them that you are moving in the wrong direction, they don't understand, because they have lived in that system and they enjoy that system. Also, professors have spoken the issue of spiritual. We need to liberate our own spiritual. You know, right now in Africa, recently you saw what happened in Ghana. Someone called No, who prepared a sheep and told people that by last Christmas on 25th this month, it was the end of the world. And people believed. People believed. That is spiritual. We are conquered spiritually. We are controlled spiritually. Right now, many Africans are prepared to go to the event. We are busy talking about investing in improving infrastructures, but normal citizens don't care about those issues. They don't care about infrastructures, about good life, about owning resources, because their minds and spiritually they have already conquered. They have been told that don't do something on the world. You have prepared life in the event. That's how we are right now. Many of us, especially average people, they are thinking about going to the heaven. And we went far. We saw some Africans fighting to kill fellow Africans because they believe if you kill people who have different belief with you, you will go to the heaven. You will go to somewhere to sit with God. So we need to liberate ourselves spiritually. We are, like, you know, when I was young, I witnessed in my clan, in my community, when the rain was too late, I saw our elders went somewhere on the mountain, connecting themselves with the creators and asking for creators to bring rain. We saw the rain coming. Even if we know that the rain is about season, but the rain came. You know, I'm not saying that we have maybe to change our beliefs. No. We have to know how we can connect with our creators. We have to know the purpose of being here. You know, many of us, we Africans, we don't know the purpose of being here. That's why someone can come from Europe, can come from China and shaking us, and without asking and questioning. You know, nowadays, have been telling my friends, those who are Pentecost churches, I love them because they're my best friends. I live with them in our communities. I said, sometimes, you know, you pray a lot and you fast, but you don't succeed. Why, you know? Because you have an image of someone who acted as Jesus. So when you pray and when you ask something from your Creator, you ask the actor of Jesus' movie, and you think you can succeed. No, you cannot succeed by asking an actor. An actor is not Jesus, is not God. So that actor just acted the lives of Jesus. It's not a Jesus. But if you go in many African families, you find that actor on the walls and some people wearing them. That's how we were designed. So that's why we are saying we need to liberate ourselves spiritually. So family, brothers and sisters, let us not speak for too long. The aim is to share these things from Professor P.L. Lumumba. My words are not much concerned. Don't deal with those words. Deal with what the professor said. But all in all, those are my thoughts. And I expect more from you, brothers and sisters. What is your opinion? Because what we are asking and what we seek here is economic freedom. Liberation of Africans, and to free Africans so that we Africans, we can benefit from our resources, we can enjoy with what we have here in the country of Africa. Right now, everyone is crying. Those who are in power are crying. Those average person are crying. Everyone is crying. Why? Because Africans, we are not benefiting from our natural resources or from what we have. As I conclude, Professor has spoken about ECOWAS, these regional bodies, Maghreb and others, that before moving to the African Union, we have to come together to find, to have a common understanding. But today, these regional bodies, every regional bodies think different. You know, recently you saw how Israel contradicted everything after recognizing Somaliland. You see, it's ECOWAS condemning, African Union condemning, individual countries condemning. You know, if we are united, there's no need for everyone to speak. It's about African Union or United Africa speaking on behalf of the entire continent. But right now you see Nigeria condemning for Israel to recognize Somaliland. I saw Rwanda condemned. I saw East Africa. I saw African Union. But all these it doesn't change anything. They cannot change anything to Israel. Israel can neutralize them at any time because they know very well that we are not united. These Jews are united. If you look, Israel is a small country, but Jews all over the world are so united. So this noise and other stuffs will not change anything on the decision of Israel. And we have seen Israel tried to join African Union and to be the observer of African Union. Of course, I saw some countries such as South Africa rejected, and Algeria rejected. But for this matter, brothers and sisters, we will do nothing. In this division, we will not do anything. Israel will recognize Somaliland, and Somaliland will give Israel space even to station military base in Somaliland. So we will do nothing because we don't have territory. African Union, what can you do? Do you think African Union can fight Israel? Let us be realistic. African Union can fight Israel. This regional board, Maghreb, can fight Israel. ECOWAS can fight Israel. Nigeria can fight Israel. So, brothers and sisters, let us not beat around the bush. Let us go deep into the bush. So, family, those are just my opinions. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being with me. I hope more from you. But all in all, brothers and sisters, we are here to find best solutions for our challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Africa. Mama Africa. Oh, yeah. You make Africa great. Thank you, Africa. Thank you, Africa.